I grip the steering wheel tighter as our minivan crawls through fresh Wisconsin snow, Christmas lights reflecting like broken promises across the windshield. Next to me, Ethan reaches over and squeezes my hand, his paramedics grip steady against my trembling fingers. "You okay?" he asks quietly. "Fine," I lie, watching the wipers battle against the gentle snowfall. We both know what awaits us at my parents' pristine colonial, with its perfect symmetrical wreaths and coordinated outdoor lighting. In the back seat, Emma and Jake clutch their homemade offerings, peppermint brownies wrapped in simple parchment paper, decorated with candy cane ribbons the children made themselves. Jake bounces his legs against the seat, his small fingers tracing the edges of the hand-colored Christmas cards they spent hours creating. "Remember what we talked about?" I remind them gently as we pull into my parents' long driveway. Christmas isn't about expensive gifts. It's about being together. Christmas. Emma nods solemnly, her 9-year-old face carrying a wisdom beyond her years. Presence, not presents. She repeats our family mantra, the phrase we've clung to since Ethan's ambulance service cut overtime hours 3 months ago. My throat tightens as we unload from the car. The modest offerings in our arms seem to grow heavier with each step toward the front door, adorned with a professional-grade wreath that probably cost more than our entire Christmas budget. My mother opens the door before we ring the bell. Carolyn Harris, immaculate as always in her cream sweater and pearls, surveys us with a tight smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "There you are," she says, air kissing my cheek. "Remember, we all agreed no gifts this year." The relief washing over me is almost embarrassing. For weeks, I've dreaded this moment, worried that our financial constraints would be exposed despite our careful planning. "That's right," I nod, tension easing from my shoulders. The kids made brownies, though, and cards. Mom glances at the homemade treats as if they're curious artifacts from another culture. "How thoughtful. You can put those by the appetizers." The house smells of pine and cinnamon, a perfect Norman Rockwell scene. Dad emerges from his study, patting Jake awkwardly on the head before hugging Emma with slightly more enthusiasm. "Merry Christmas, you two," he says, then turns to me. "Monica, the Johnsons next door just got a boat." In December, he shakes his head, as if this purchase is both ridiculous and impressive. I place the brownies beside crystal serving dishes filled with catered hors d'oeuvres. Emma carefully arranges their handmade cards on the entry table, while Jake stares longingly at the enormous tree surrounded by nothing. No presents. Just as agreed, the knot in my stomach begins to unwind. "Can we play in the basement, Mom?" Jake asks. "Sure, honey. Just remember to use indoor voices." The minutes tick by with small talk and calculated compliments. Dad brags about his golf game while Mom interrogates Ethan about his career prospects. I answer questions about the children's school performances while stealing glances at the clock. 20 minutes later, the front door bursts open without a knock. My younger sister Tessa sweeps in like a winter storm, her husband Logan following with arms laden with glossy shopping bags and professionally wrapped boxes. Their teenage sons trail behind, faces already illuminated by the screens of brand new phones. "We're here," Tessa announces, as if her arrival completes the gathering. She shrugs off a coat that costs more than our monthly mortgage payment. Mom claps her hands together like an excited child. "You've arrived! Let's open gifts." The words strike me like a physical blow. I glance at Ethan, whose jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Our children emerge from the basement, confusion etched across their faces as they watch their cousins deposit an avalanche of presents beneath the tree. "I thought we agreed no gifts," I say quietly to Mom as Tessa directs her sons to organize the packages. Dad sighs dramatically. "Don't start, Monica. You always take things too seriously." Tessa shoots me a smirk while adjusting her cashmere sweater. "Relax. It's Christmas. We just did what we could. Don't be dramatic." My children stand frozen at the edge of the room, watching as their cousins tear through wrapping paper, revealing Apple Watches. A gaming laptop Dad offhandedly mentions costs $2,800 but worth every penny, and Disneyland tickets presented with theatrical flair. Emma clutches her handmade card tighter, the paper crinkling beneath her fingers. The pride that had brightened her eyes earlier dims like a bulb losing power. Jake inches closer to me, his small hand slipping into mine. As the chaos of expensive gifts unfolds, memories flood my mind, sharp, precise recollections of a pattern established long ago. Age 14, giving up summer camp so Tessa could attend cheerleading training. "You're so practical, Monica," Mom had praised, the words carrying an unspoken invoice. Age 23, co-signing Tessa's first apartment when she had no credit. "You're so responsible," they'd said, as if responsibility was a consolation prize for being less loved. Age 28, having a modest wedding because your sister might get engaged soon and we shouldn't overshadow her moment. I watch my children's expressions fall as their cousins boast about their extravagant gifts. And something inside me shifts, not with the heat of anger, but with the clarity of ice water. I help my children into their coats while the celebration continues without pause. "We're heading home early," I announce softly. "The kids have school preparation tomorrow, but we haven't even had dessert." Mom protests, looking genuinely surprised that we wouldn't stay to witness more of our exclusion. "You can enjoy our brownies." "Merry Christmas," I respond, my voice steady and unfamiliar even to myself. I'm not yielding, not apologizing, not explaining the freedom of this small rebellion tastes sweet in my tongue. In the car, with snowflakes dancing in our headlights, Jake's small voice breaks the silence. "Are we poor, Mom?" I meet Ethan's eyes in the rearview mirror, a lifetime of understanding passing between us. "No, honey," I answer, reaching back to squeeze his knee. "We just believe some things are worth more than stuff." As we drive away from the house that never felt like home, I realize that the weight I've carried for years isn't obligation or responsibility. It's the burden of allowing myself to be diminished. And for the first time in my adult life, I feel it beginning to lift. I lie awake beside Ethan, watching moonlight trace patterns across our bedroom ceiling. The house stands quiet, our children asleep in their rooms down the hall, but my mind roars with hurricane force. My body feels weightless, hollow not with grief or even anger, but with a strange crystalline clarity I've never experienced before. I slip from bed, careful not to disturb Ethan's exhausted sleep. His shift schedule has grown more grueling since the overtime cuts. The floorboards creak beneath my bare feet as I pad into the kitchen. The electric kettle hums to life. I grab chamomile tea, Mother's standard recommendation for any crisis. "Tea soothes everything, Monica," she'd always say, usually while ignoring whatever actual problem needed addressing. My laptop screen glows blue in the darkened kitchen. Opening my bank app, I scan through months of transactions, finding patterns I've willfully ignored for years. The evidence accumulates like snowdrifts against a door I can no longer force open. There it sits. Property insurance for my parents' colonial $1,400 charged to my card. Just until next month, nearly 13 months ago. I remember Dad's call, the casual request delivered as if he were asking for the time. "We're between accounts right now, sweetie. Just temporary." Next appears my mother's cell phone, $65 monthly for 4 years now, just until we figure out a better plan, she'd promised. 4 years of figuring, apparently. Then, Tessa's emergency dental bill from September $1,200, transferred directly to her account within an hour of her tearful call. 3 weeks later, her Instagram flooded with beach photos from Cabo San Lucas, her perfect teeth gleaming in every selfie. The tally grows as I scroll through: shared subscriptions, membership fees, unexpected expenses that somehow became my responsibility. Names and numbers blur until I open a new spreadsheet and title it simply, Reclaiming. Column by column, I document every service, every dollar, every broken promise. With each entry, my breathing steadies. Netflix family, $19.99 divided by month, shared with parents and Tessa. Amazon Prime household, $14.99 divided by month with both sets of secondary users. Verizon family plan, $318.75 divided by month. Caring parents and Tessa Spotify premium family, $16.99 divided by month for everyone. LA fitness membership, $39.99 divided by month. Dad added himself 2 years ago. The numbers stagger me. Over $5,000 annually drained from our household money that could have funded Emma's swimming lessons she begged for last summer. $180 monthly. The furnace repair we've postponed to next year. $2,200. Ethan's nursing certification program that would boost his salary by 30%. What exactly am I buying with this money? I whisper to the empty kitchen. The answer rings clear. Their convenience, purchased at the cost of our future. My finger hovers over the mouse. Something breaks loose inside me, not with drama or tears, but with the quiet certainty of a lock finally turning. I begin with Netflix. 3 clicks and the secondary profiles vanish. Amazon requires more time, removing authorized users one by one. The Verizon website proves trickier, but by 3 a.m., I've transferred 3 lines of our account. Subscription by subscription, membership by membership, I sever financial ties built over years. No anger drives me now. Only the methodical precision of correcting a mathematical error that's persisted too long. The gym membership proves satisfying. Dad complained last month about the outrageous increase to $39.99. I click cancel membership without hesitation. When I finish, the room feels lighter. The spreadsheet now includes a new column, reclaimed. The monthly total, $612.71, glows on screen like a promise. The kitchen light flickers on. Ethan stands in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep, concern etching lines around his eyes. It's 5 a.m, he says softly, moving to the kettle. You okay? I think I will be, I answer, turning the screen toward him. For the first time in years. He studies the spreadsheet without surprise, pouring hot water into a mug. I've wanted to suggest this for years. Why didn't you? Wasn't my battle to fight. He places fresh tea beside me. What made tonight different? The memory surfaces instantly Emma's face as she clutched her homemade card, watching her cousin steer through expensive presents. The pride in her eyes dimming like a candle guttering in wind, the look on Emma's face. I whisper, throat tightening. When she thought her card wasn't good enough, I won't let them make our children feel less than anymore. Ethan's hand settles warm against my shoulder. There will be fallout, he warns gently. Your mother doesn't handle change well. I sip my tea, tasting something beyond chamomile, perhaps the first sip of freedom. I know, let's get some sleep, we'll need it. He helps me close the laptop, leaving reclaiming safely saved for tomorrow's inevitable battles. As we walk back to our bedroom, I glance at the children's doors. Behind one, Emma sleeps with her stuffed koala, dreaming of swimming pools in summer. Behind the other, Jake clutches his dinosaur, blissfully unaware of adult complexities. For them, I'd face 1,000 Carolyn Harris disapproving stares. For them, I'd weather whatever storm comes when my phone begins ringing tomorrow with demands and guilt trips. As I slide back into bed, Ethan's arm wraps around my waist. Proud of you, he murmurs against my hair. The words settle into my bones, replacing the constant weight of obligation with something lighter, truer. Just before sleep claims me, I realize what feels different. The crushing responsibility for everyone's happiness has lifted, leaving room to breathe at last. Tomorrow will bring chaos. But for now, I rest in the certainty that some boundaries once set can never be uncrossed again. My phone vibrates across the nightstand like an angry hornet at precisely 8 a.m. I ignore it, savoring the quiet morning with Ethan and the kids eating breakfast downstairs. The buzzing stops, then immediately begins again. And again. By the time I check, the screen displays 47 missed calls. The texts arrive in rapid succession. Carolyn, what have you done? Tessa mom's crying. Fix this now. Rick, your mother can't reach her friends. This is unacceptable. I place the phone face down on the counter, pour myself a cup of coffee, and actually taste it for once. The rich warmth slides down my throat, while the chaos I've unleashed vibrates silently against the granite. That bad? Ethan asks, glancing at my upturned phone. That good? I correct him, feeling oddly serene. The pounding on our front door shatters the moment. I open it to find my parents standing on the porch with matched expressions of outrage. Behind them, 2 police officers shift uncomfortably in the morning light. "This is my daughter," Carolyn announces, her pearl earrings catching the winter Sunday. "She hacked our accounts and stole our services." The younger officer badge reading Murphy clears his throat. "Ma'am, can you explain the situation?" His eyes hold a mixture of embarrassment and resignation. Clearly not the emergency he'd expected. "Certainly." I step back, inviting them in. The officers enter while my parents hover in the doorway like vampires needing permission. "Would anyone like coffee?" "This isn't a social call," Rick snaps. Officer Murphy accepts a mug while his partner declines. I retrieve my folder from the desk, the one I prepared at 4 a.m., with printouts of every account, every payment record, each bearing my name as the responsible party. "These accounts are all in my name," I explain, spreading the papers across our kitchen table. "I've been paying for them for years." I simply decided to stop. The older officer scans the documents, nodding slowly. "Looks like a civil family matter to me, not a criminal complaint." He turns to my parents. "These accounts are legally in your daughter's name. She's entitled to cancel services she pays for." "But she did it without warning," Carolyn protests. "We were in the middle of shows. Rick missed the golf tournament broadcast." The officers exchange glances. Again, civil matter. "We recommend working it out as a family." They excuse themselves with apologetic nods toward me. From the porch, Carolyn's voice rises. "Family doesn't do this." I stand in the doorway, fingers gripping the frame. Exactly. Family doesn't take advantage and call it love. Rick points a finger at me. "After everything we've done for you." "Dad," I interrupt softly, "I appreciate what you've done, but that doesn't mean I owe you unlimited financial support forever." They leave in a storm of slammed car doors and squealing tires. Inside, Emma and Jake peer from behind the staircase. "Why were the police here?" Emma asks, eyes wide. I crouch to their level. "Grandma and Grandpa were upset about something grown up. The police just explained that everything is fine." "Are we in trouble?" Jake whispers. "No, honey. Sometimes adults disagree about things, and they need to work it out." By afternoon, the family group chat lights up like Christmas morning. Carolyn posts first. "We're heartbroken. This is not how we raised her." Tessa adds fuel. "Can't believe my own sister ruined Christmas and left us without phones." "Can't make this stuff up, Uncle George. What's going on with Monica?" I begin typing a response, then pause when an unexpected message appears from Aunt Joanne. "Good for you, Monica. I did the same thing last year with my son. Had to stop the financial bleeding." A thumbs-up reaction comes from my cousin Sarah. Within an hour, both Carolyn and Tessa have left the chat. When the phone finally falls silent, the house seems to expand around me. Space to breathe, room to think. For the first time in years, my shoulders drop from their permanent position near my ears. That evening, while the kids finish homework, Ethan and I sit at our dining room table. I create a new spreadsheet titled simply Add Back. The cursor blinks expectantly. Swimming lessons for Emma and Jake, $180 monthly. I type, feeling my lips curve upward. Ethan leans closer. Weekend cabin getaway in Door County this spring. New tablet for your paramedic certification program, I add. We laugh as the list grows, naming it our no-guilt budget. The numbers add up to exactly what we've been hemorrhaging to my family for years. "What do we do about your parents now?" Ethan asks, his hand warm against mine. "We wait," I answer. "We didn't take anything that wasn't ours. We just stopped giving what was never appreciated." The morning brings a single text from Carolyn. "Are we still invited to the children's winter recital?" I stare at the screen, the question hovering between olive branch and manipulation. The old Monica would have jumped to reassure, to smooth things over, to sacrifice. But the woman I'm becoming weighs her response with new consideration. Jake pads into the kitchen in dinosaur pajamas. "Mom, can I have waffles?" "Frozen or homemade?" I ask, setting the phone aside. "Homemade!" He grins, showing the gap where his front tooth should be. As I mix batter and heat the waffle iron, I realize something profound. The first pushback when setting boundaries often comes with accusations of cruelty. But cruelty isn't protecting what's rightfully yours. It's letting others take so much that your own children go without. My phone waits patiently for a response that will come in my own time. On my own terms, the waffle iron beeps, ready for batter, and I pour it in with a steady hand. A week later, I stare at my phone, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Carolyn's text glows accusingly on the screen. Are we still invited to the children's winter recital? After careful consideration, I type, yes, please come on time. No gifts, please. The reply comes seconds later, a single period. Nothing more. My stomach tightens, but I refuse to second-guess myself. Everything okay? Ethan asks, passing behind me with a basket of laundry. Just mom being mom, I sigh, pocketing my phone. She confirmed for the recital. You sure you want them there? His voice holds no judgment, just concern. The kids deserve their grandparents' support, I answer, as long as they follow the rules. The phone buzzes again. A message from Aunt Beverly. Your mother tells me you're having financial troubles. We can help if needed. Then another from Uncle Steve. Heard about your situation. Everything okay with you and Ethan? My cheeks burn as I realize what's happening. The rumors have begun. Over the next week, the whispers multiply. Cousin Jenny calls, voice dripping with concern. I heard you're having some kind of breakdown. My second cousin, who I haven't spoken to in 3 years, emails. Your sister mentioned you've become so materialistic lately. My mother's bridge partner stops me at the grocery store. Such a shame about Ethan controlling your finances like that. I place each tomato in my cart with deliberate care, fighting the urge to defend myself. That's not remotely true, Barbara. I say instead, voice steady, but thanks for your concern. That evening, Ethan's parents call. Unlike my family, they rarely interfere, which makes their concern more genuine. We've been hearing some strange things. His mother begins hesitantly. Something about you cutting your parents off? Ethan takes the phone. Monica's finally standing up for herself, he explains, squeezing my hand. We're fine, better than we've been in years, actually. His mother's sigh comes through the speaker. It's about time. We've worried for years about how they've taken advantage. The validation from his family soothes something raw inside me. But that night, as I help Emma practice her recorder solo for the 5th time, reality intrudes again. Why is Grandma saying mean things about you to Aunt Tessa? Emma asks suddenly, lowering her instrument. I heard them on the phone yesterday when I went to the bathroom. My heart stops. You heard Grandma on the phone at their house? Emma nods. She didn't know I was there. She said you were being selfish and ungrateful. I sit beside my daughter on her bed, gathering words like delicate shells. Sometimes adults disagree about what's fair. Grandma and I are working through something difficult. Emma's eyes, so much like mine, search my face. Is it because we didn't get big presents like Cousin Tyler? The question pierces me. No, sweetheart. I brush hair from her forehead. It's because adults need boundaries too, just like you need rules at school. What's a boundary? She asks. It's like, remember when Jason kept taking your art supplies without asking? She nods vigorously. Mrs. Miller made him stop. That's a boundary. Sometimes we need to tell people to stop taking things, even grown-ups. Understanding dawns on her face. Did Grandma take your things? Something like that, I answer carefully. But we're figuring it out. As the recital approaches, tension builds. Jake memorizes his lines for the class, play with intense concentration, repeating them endlessly at breakfast. Will Grandma and Grandpa come? He asks while trying on his costume, a handmade tree with branches Ethan crafted from pipe cleaners and felt. They said they would, I answer, not entirely sure. The costume needs adjusting at the shoulders, and I focus on pinning it properly. The night of the recital arrives with winter's first real snowfall. White flakes drift lazily past the elementary school's floodlights as families stream into the warmth of the auditorium. Emma clutches her recorder with nervous fingers while Jake bounces on his toes. Scanning the growing crowd, there's Tyler. He points toward the entrance where my sister's family has just arrived. Tessa waves theatrically, her smile not quite reaching her eyes, but no sign of my parents. Places, everyone. Mrs. Peterson claps her hands, herding children backstage. I squeeze Emma's shoulder. You'll do great. Deep breaths. The lights dim precisely at 7. Principal Warner welcomes everyone with his annual joke about winter, bringing out the talent like snow brings out the shovels. Parents laugh politely. The kindergartners perform their song about snowflakes, missing half the words but compensating with enthusiasm. 15 minutes into the program, a commotion erupts at the back of the auditorium. The third graders' choral arrangement of Winter Wonderland falters as heads turn toward the disturbance. My parents make their entrance, forcing an entire row to stand as they squeeze through to the seats I'd saved. Carolyn's pearl earrings catch the stage lights while Rick mumbles half-hearted apologies to those they disturb. My stomach drops when I notice the gift bags clutched in Tessa's hands. Of course. Of course they couldn't follow one simple rule. Jake's class performs next, their play about the changing seasons earning appreciative laughter. When Emma's recorder ensemble takes the stage, her eyes find mine. I give her an encouraging nod, and she plays her solo without a single mistake. Pride swells in my chest, temporarily displacing the dread of what's to come. After the final bow, families gather in the cafeteria for punch and cookies. I'm helping Mrs. Peterson arrange the refreshment table when I see Tessa approaching Emma and Jake with wrapped packages. "We brought something special for our stars," she announces, voice pitched to Carrie. I intercept her, stepping between my children and the gifts. "We said no gifts, Tessa. Please respect that." "They're just little tokens," she insists, loud enough for nearby parents to hear. "Don't be so controlling." "No means no," I say firmly but quietly. "We can visit next weekend if you'd like to spend time with them instead." Tessa's face contorts. "This is ridiculous," she hisses. "You're punishing the children because you're angry at us." Several parents turn to watch, conversation dying around us. My palms sweat, but I stand my ground. "The children are doing wonderfully," I respond evenly. "They know they're loved without expensive gifts." Tessa stares at me for a long moment, then storms out dramatically, gift bag still clutched in her manicured hands. Rick follows reluctantly, shooting me a glare that would have crushed me just weeks ago. Carolyn lingers, clearly torn. She watches Emma helping a kindergartner reach the cookie tray, Jake showing his tree costume to a classmate. "They worked so hard," she whispers, her voice smaller than I've ever heard it. "Yes, they did. I agree. That's worth more than any gift." She hesitates, then touches my arm briefly before following my father. The gesture isn't exactly surrender, but it's something close to recognition. As I gather empty punch cups, Mrs. Peterson approaches. "Your children are so well-adjusted, Monica, not focused on material things like many kids these days." "Thank you," I murmur, surprised by the compliment. Another parent, Lisa Morgan, whose daughter plays with Emma, adds, "It's refreshing to see someone setting limits during the holidays. We're drowning in stuff every year. For the first time since this boundary battle began, I feel a strange lightness. Not vindication exactly, but validation from an unexpected quarter." In the car driving home, snow falling gentle around us, Jake asks, "Why did Aunt Tessa leave so quickly?" "She had somewhere to be," I answer, exchanging glances with Ethan. "But she brought us presents," Jake persists. Emma, wiser than her years, pipes up from the back seat. "It's like Mom said, boundaries. Aunt Tessa needs to learn about boundaries." I catch her eye in the rearview mirror and see something I've rarely noticed before. A quiet confidence that mirrors my own emerging strength. The sight fills me with a fierce, protective joy that burns brighter than any Christmas light. I grip my coffee mug tighter when the doorbell rings on Sunday morning, 3 days after the recital. The children are still upstairs, building a fortress of pillows and imagination. Ethan glances at me from behind his newspaper, eyebrows raised in silent question. "Not expecting anyone," I murmur, setting down my mug with a soft clink against the kitchen table. The bell rings again, more insistent this time, impatient fingers. I recognize the pattern, my mother's particular brand of urgency. I open the door to find my parents standing on the porch, unannounced and unwelcome. Dad's jaw is set in that familiar stubborn line, Mom clutching her purse against her chest like armor. "We need to talk," Dad declares, pushing past me into the living room without waiting for an invitation. Mom follows, her perfume leaving a trail of expensive reproach in her wake. This has gone on long enough. I close the door with deliberate slowness, counting to 5 in my head. The techniques from those library books on family dynamics hadn't prepared me for the way my pulse quickens, the way my throat tightens when they invade my space like this. Dad plants himself in the center of our modest living room, surveying the toys scattered across the floor with thinly veiled judgment. "Do you know how much we sacrificed for you?" he demands, voice rising. "The vacations we never took? The retirement accounts we borrowed from for your braces in college," Mom adds tearfully, her voice wavering with practiced vulnerability. "I worked 2 jobs when your father was laid off. We gave you everything." The familiar guilt rises like bile, but something different happens now. It recedes just as quickly, replaced by a startling clarity. "And I've been paying that debt my whole adult life," I respond, my voice calm despite the tremor in my hands, not just with money, but with constant emotional labor. Ethan appears from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. He doesn't speak, just stands behind me, close enough that I can feel his warmth against my back. "I think it's time we discussed this properly." I continue, moving toward the small desk in the corner where I've prepared for this moment. I retrieve a folder, blue, ordinary, unremarkable except for the power it contains. Dad scoffs. "What's this now? More dramatics?" I open the folder on the coffee table between us, laying out the first spreadsheet. The numbers stand in neat columns, irrefutable and damning. This is a record of every financial contribution I've made over the past decade. I explain, my finger tracing down the list. $1,480 in direct loans that were never repaid. $9,200 in phone and subscription services. $3,150 in emergency assistance. Dad stares at the page, his mouth opening and closing like a fish suddenly finding itself on dry land. "I've never asked for repayment," I explain, my voice steady now, "but I do expect respect for our boundaries going forward." Mom reaches for the spreadsheet, manicured fingers trembling slightly. "This can't be right." I turn to the second page, revealing another spreadsheet. This shows the holiday gift disparities between our family and Tessa's over 5 years. The estimated difference totals nearly $8,000. The color drains from Dad's face as his eyes scan the numbers. Shock replaces anger, his shoulders sagging under the weight of evidence he can't dismiss. I didn't realize it added up to this much. It's not about the money, I clarify, though part of me screams that yes, it is about the money. The money that could have funded swimming lessons, the furnace repair, Ethan's certification. It's about the pattern of taking advantage, and then making me feel guilty when I object. Ethan shifts behind me, his presence solid and reassuring. The morning light through the windows catches the gold flecks in his eyes when I glance back at him. "Here's what needs to change," I continue, sitting on the arm of our sofa. My voice carries a newfound authority that surprises even me. "No more financial expectations. We're focusing on our children's needs." Dad opens his mouth to interrupt, but I raise my hand, stopping him cold. "Equal treatment of both families, or we'll limit contact." I continue, the words flowing now, rehearsed in midnight whispers when the house was quiet. Respect for our boundaries about gifts and other rules. And no more showing up unannounced call first. Dad sinks heavily onto our couch, the leather creaking beneath him. He suddenly looks old, the lines around his mouth deeper than I remember. We didn't see it as taking advantage. Mom wipes at her eyes, careful not to smudge her mascara. "We just thought since you're so capable." "Being capable doesn't mean I should carry everyone," I respond, my tone gentler now. "That's not fair to me, to Ethan, or to our children." The silence stretches between us, punctuated only by the soft ticking of the grandfather clock Ethan inherited from his grandmother. Upstairs, a muffled giggle floats down, a reminder of what I'm fighting for. "What about Tessa?" Dad asks quietly, his gaze fixed on the floor. "That's between you and her," I answer, refusing the bait. "I'm only responsible for my family now." Mom nods slowly, reality finally sinking in. Her fingers worry at the edge of her silk scarf. "We might have favored her without meaning to." "You did," I confirm, the words sharp but necessary. "But we can build something healthier now if you're willing." Dad's shoulders slump further. For the first time in my life, I see him not as the infallible authority figure of my childhood, but as a flawed man who made choices that hurt me, whether he intended them to or not. "So where does this leave us?" he asks, his voice rougher than usual. "That depends on you," I reply, closing the folder. "I've set my boundaries. The next step is yours." Ethan moves to stand beside me now, his hand finding mine. Mom looks at our clasped hands, then up at my face. Something shifts in her expression. Recognition, perhaps, or the beginning of respect. "We should go," she says quietly to Dad. "Give everyone some time to think." As they gather themselves to leave, Emma appears at the top of the stairs, Jake peering around her like a shadow. "Grandma? Grandpa?" Emma calls, confusion in her voice. "They were just leaving, sweetheart," I explain. "They came by without calling first." Mom pauses at the door, her hand on the frame. We'll call next time," she says, the words sounding strange in her mouth, like a foreign language she's learning for the first time. After they've gone, Ethan pulls me into a hug. I rest my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. "You did it," he whispers into my hair. "We did it," I correct him, the truth of it settling into my bones like a homecoming. "And we'll keep doing it, one boundary at a time." The children thunder down the stairs, full of questions and Sunday morning energy. As I turn to answer them, I feel something unfamiliar yet welcome, spreading through my chest, the lightness of sheets snapping on a clothesline, the taste of freedom. 6 months later, summer sunshine warms my shoulders as I kneel beside Emma in our backyard garden. Her small hands pat soil around a tomato seedling with surprising gentleness. The scent of fresh earth fills my lungs, simple and honest. "Careful with that one," I guide her fingers. "The stems are fragile." Our house feels different now, lighter somehow, as if the walls exhale more freely. No phone rings with urgent family demands. No unexpected financial obligations lurk in my inbox. "Grandma called while you were at the store," Emma mentions, her voice casual but her eyes watching my reaction. She asked if we want to go fishing with Grandpa next weekend. "Just us, not Cousin Tyler." I brush dirt from my palms. "Would you like that?" Emma nods, sunlight catching the copper highlights in her hair. "Grandpa says he'll teach me to bait my own hook." The doorbell chimes. I check my watch, Carolyn, right on time for once. 6 months ago, she would have arrived unannounced or 20 minutes late, expecting accommodation either way. I open the door to find my mother standing on the porch holding a modest gift bag. Her cream sweater looks familiar, not new, a small detail I never would have noticed before. "I know we said no gifts," she begins, hesitation softening her voice, "but I found Emma's baby book in the attic. I thought you might want it. Come in." I step aside, surprised by the lack of tension in my shoulders. No invisible weight presses down as she crosses the threshold. The air between us feels clean, tentative but warming, like spring soil after winter. Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a text from Rick. "Tessa wants to know if you'll host 4th of July this year, the whole family." Once, this request would have triggered an automatic yes, followed by weeks of preparation and resentment. My fingers hover over the keyboard before typing, "We're planning a small gathering this year. No excuses." No lengthy justification. Just a clear boundary. Ethan notices my smile as I set down the phone. "A year ago, you would have said yes and resented it for months." "I finally realized I'm not responsible for everyone's happiness," I reply, folding laundry with unhurried hands. "Just our family's well-being." The calendar on our refrigerator shows a new rhythm to our lives. Monthly family counseling sessions have replaced weekly crises. Tessa attended once, declared it pointless, and hasn't returned. But Rick and Carolyn continue showing up, fumbling toward change with genuine, if imperfect, effort. Our no-guilt budget-funded swimming lessons for both children. Jake no longer asks if we're poor. Emma stands taller at school performances, confidence blooming like our garden tomatoes. Weekend trips to Door County replace services for ungrateful relatives. Ethan's certification program progresses steadily, his eyes bright with purpose when he studies late at night. At a neighborhood barbecue last weekend, I noticed Susan flinching as her mother-in-law criticized her potato salad. Hours later, she found me alone by the drinks table. They expect us to host every holiday, Susan confided, twisting her paper napkin. But nothing's ever good enough. I shared my story simply. You can love people without letting them consume you. Summer fades to autumn. The calendar fills with measured family commitments balanced against private time. We're preparing for another holiday season, but with different expectations in place. A card arrives from Aunt Joanne. Proud of you for showing us all a better way. I place it beside a simple photo of our family, Ethan, Emma, and Jake, laughing by the lake last August. Nearby sits a smaller frame with my parents. Their relationship to us mending but appropriately sized now. Mom, Jake calls from the living room where he's building a Lego fortress. Grandma wants to know if we can come for Thanksgiving, but only if we're comfortable. She says it's totally okay if we have other plans. I exchange a meaningful look with Ethan. Progress. That night, while the children sleep and the house settles into peaceful silence, I write in my journal. I couldn't make my family honest, but I could make my home fair. I couldn't stop them from taking, but I could stop giving what they never respected. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's servitude. Real love makes room for everyone to stand tall. I close the book, listening to my children's peaceful breathing down the hall. Some gifts like self-respect and peace can't be wrapped, but they're the ones that matter most.